This might be one of the sickest cases I have reported on so far in regards to church corruption. There are no words for this level of depravity. And to know that these type things are happening inside churches is beyond what I can bear. I am so heartbroken. So as you see here in the Christian Post article, the son of Ohio megachurch pastors Gary and Drenda Keesee from Faith Life in Ohio, he has been indicted on 27 sexual abuse charges, including 11 counts of it rhymes with grape. These pastors have still not stepped down. They are currently leading their church, and they still both have a show airing on Daystar television. So we are going to get into the detail of these charges, and what I've uncovered is beyond shocking. We're going to get into all the details today, so you're going to want to stick with me till the end. Hi, my name is Joshua Simone, and my ministry is called Torn Curtain. Ruslan played my video this week and called me Tom. I'm working on a new logo. The ministry is called Torn Curtain because when Jesus died on the cross, the curtain in the Old Testament temple was torn from top to bottom. We now have a new covenant, a better covenant, and direct access to a relationship with God through Jesus' death and resurrection. For those of you who are in denial about the state of the charismatic churches, wake up. Wake up. Wake up before it's too late. Wake up out of your slumber. What I'm doing here isn't exposure or discernment ministry. I'm simply pointing to the problems within the charismatic church. Well, it has been rumored for months that this megachurch pastor's son, and prior to last summer, Tom Keesee worked as a chief media officer at the megachurch Faith Life Church. There were multiple allegations of sexual abuse, including one from his own sister, Kirsten. And listen, some sins are more severe than others. Sin is sin, but incest is one of those things that should be taken very serious. We are not designed to have sexual relationships with family members. This is beyond sinfulness, but this is full-blown depravity. As described in Romans 1, if you're interested, go take a look at those passages. Well, justice has finally caught up with Tom Keesee, and these allegations have now found their way into a court of law, and he will be held accountable. So let's get into the detail of these charges today. But first, do me a favor, hit the like button to help this video get out to more people. I really appreciate it. It's something that you can do easily to help the channel. And if you've been blessed by my content, please consider hitting subscribe. A shocking amount of my viewers have not subscribed. And from now on, I'm only going to be replying to comments from subscribers moving forward because I can't really keep up with the comment section as it is. So hit subscribe. I'll do my best to reply to your comments in the video. So, son of Gary and Drenda Keesee, founders and senior pastors of Faith Life Church in Ohio, was indicted by a grand jury on 27 counts of SA crimes, including 11 counts of it rhymes with grape. Keese was also charged with 11 counts of fourth degree rhymes with grape and 5 counts of unlawful SA conduct with a minor, which is a fourth degree felony charge. A copy of the indictment cited by the Columbus Dispatch alleges that Keese, 36 years old, committed the grapes between May 2002 and November 2006. Lincoln County prosecutor Jenny Wells revealed at a press conference that investigators interviewed approximately 40 witnesses and 3 victims have already come forward. The worst part of all of this that makes my blood boil, that gets me so upset, and I think it gets God so upset too, at least as we hear in the Gospels. But there were little children that were allegedly SA'd by Tom Keesee. And thank God that people who decided to bravely come forward to put an end to this madness. A lot of times these victims stay quiet because they're traumatized. They don't want all of the popular press that is going to come along with these things. And then these abuses continually happen. So it's important that the cycle is disrupted and that people were boldly enough to come forward. To the three witnesses, victims in this case, my heart goes out to you. I'm praying for you, and just pray that God would restore your soul completely to Psalm 23. But during the 1950s through the 70s, even up to the 80s, many people stayed quiet about things that were happening, about SA happening in the church, particularly the Catholic Church. And we can't let the patterns continue that happened in the Catholic Church in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. Court document reveals that there are at least 3 victims in this case, all under the age of 13 when the alleged abuse took place. Keese himself was between 12 and 14 years old at the time for the first allegations. Wells stated that all of the victims were members of Faith Life Church at some point, and they were around 6 to 15 years old when the alleged abuse took place. One victim alleges is a criminal complaint that Keese SA'ed her when she was 5 and 6 years old, starting in May 2001 and ending in 2003. Keese SA'ed touched the victim at least 50 times, according to the arrest warrant by Licking County Sheriff's Office. Another victim accused him of touching her private areas repeatedly, stating that in November 2006, when she was 8 years old, until she was 15, and the incidents took place over 100 times. Keese allegedly abused a third victim when she was 10 or 11, the warrant says. And not to mention that his sister has come forward against him, stating that he's done the same to her. All 3 of these victims are former members of Faith Life Church, and they knew each other as kids, said Wells, who is the special prosecutor assigned to this case. At the press conference, police traveled to multiple states and interviewed about 40 witnesses. And here's where things get even more ugly. Many times the rich and powerful are able to escape justice. Licking County, where Faith Life Church is located, took the case after 2 other law enforcement entities declined to investigate due to the political connections of Drenda Keesee, a Knox County commissioner. And so there were law enforcement authorities that passed on this case because of the personal connections to the Keese family. So you see how some of this stuff doesn't get reported. It doesn't get investigated because people in power are able to cover this up. Well, a public petition circled, which alleged allegations from Keese's own sister increased pressure on authorities to investigate. And then a second online petition alleged that Faith Life covered up Tom Keese's SA and called for the Keese's resignation for her role as county commissioner. That's Tom's mother. They are still holding on to power, though. The Keeses are still leaving their church. And listen, I am not saying that in all cases the sins of the children should blow back on parents. This should be taken on a case-for-case basis. But this might be the exception to this rule. But in this case, with this amount of gross conduct that happened right under the pastor's noses, with their son on staff at the church, this is a direct reflection on the parents, their home, and their church culture. They're guilty in this too. The parents are guilty in this. And if they have any type of integrity, they would step aside and do some soul reflection for a season about how this all happened under their noses. But again, these are still allegations at this point, folks. As it turns out that Tom is guilty of these crimes down the road, this is going to be the house of Eli. And I've talked about the house of Eli on this channel, but it's also the sins of Eli. And he was kind of a righteous man himself who wasn't up to gross misconduct or gross behaviors, but he allowed his wicked and evil sons to continue their poor behaviors in the house of the Lord. He didn't stop them. Although he did verbally warn them at times, he didn't put an end to this. But God was not mocked. He struck the father down along with his 2 wicked sons in one day. And it was Ichabod, meaning the glory of the Lord departed that family, departed that ministry, and God wanted a clear break moving forward. Well, I can say it seems that this is the case for Gary and Drenda and their son Tom. God is about to bring justice. God will not be mocked. He will not be mocked. But his parents are staying in power during all of this, and they're continuing their show on Daystar TV. If you watch Daystar TV, which I don't know how any spirit-filled Christian could even mention their name, let alone watch that program, you should consider contacting them and saying, why is the Keese's program still on that network? But my guess is at this point, they'll let anybody on that network. But what makes this all worse is that the megachurch pastors, Gary and Drenda, are in huge denial here. And denial, as they say, as the joke says, denial is not a river in Egypt. They think their son is totally innocent of these charges. Again, this is full-blown depravity, as mentioned in Romans chapter 1, where people's consciences become so seared that they can't even see their own depraved condition. Prior to the indictment on Monday, Keese's father, Pastor Gary Keese, insisted in February that there was another side to the story and that all hell is breaking loose, but truth will prevail, Gary Keese said during one of the 3 services at the church's New Albany site in February, according to Knox Page's report. There is another side to the story, and the truth will come out. Keese's mother, Drenda Keese, was recently elected as Knox County Commissioner, also asked God to forgive those who hurt us as she denied the allegations against her son in February. So there are several people that are coming forward. Their own daughter is coming forward. I don't know how they've even just continued up to this point, how Tom was able to stay on staff as early as last August. But this family is in complete denial. And they go on to say that those who know us know that this is not true. Okay, so they're playing some type of game. I don't get what's going on here, how they could, where there is usually smoke, there is usually a fire someplace. And although these are allegations, when you see a trail of people coming forward, and coming forward as victims, you can assure that at a minimum something did happen. Now this is a picture of Gary and Drenda Keesee. And listen, I'm not saying this to be mean at all, but look at this woman, okay? Anyone who has spiritual discernment or any discernment at all, would you trust her? She looks like somebody that's involved in a gimmick, in a scheme, and I just by looking at her pictures, I'm like, I wouldn't follow this woman. Okay, so part of this is also us not having discernment in the church to be able to see things way in advance. The Holy Spirit does give out the gift of discernment that gives us the ability to see what spirits are operating behind people. And in this case, you could just look and just say, I can't trust these people just by looking at them. Wells, who is the special prosecutor, said none of these offenses occurred at Faith Life Church, and all of them occurred before 2012. Some of the charges were from when Keese was also a minor, Wells added. Some charges carry a mandatory sentence of 10 years to life if convicted, Wells said. Due to the seriousness of the charges, Wells considers Keese a flight risk in this case. An attorney for Faith Life Church issued a press statement released on Friday's arrest, denouncing the abuse and stating that the church was not involved at all. So, and I just don't understand how churches could release a statement. Wait a minute, the 2 senior pastors' son is involved in this church. He was on staff at the church, and I understand things did in place there, but the church wasn't involved at all. Come on, man. Are you kidding me? They went on later to say that Faith Life Church decries all forms of SA and stands with the survivors of such abuse in faith and prayer, the press release states. The complaint alleges incidents that occurred approximately 2 decades ago and in no way involved Faith Life Church. Okay, so again, we've seen this in other cases with corruption in the church. The church will say, well, this happened a long time ago. Well, we weren't involved, where it didn't happen directly on our premises or whatever, distancing themselves from things, minimizing, instead of just owning it right up front. When the pastors, the two senior pastors, the two leaders of this ministry, their son was indicted on all of these charges. I don't know about you, but I just despise these legal statements. It's like they only care about their image, and the words are just hollow and empty, and you can tell it's just a load of, yeah. So Tom Keese's arraignment is scheduled for Wednesday in Knox County Common Pleas Court, Wells said. Bond will be set at that time, Wells said. In the meantime, Keese is being held in the Licking County Justice Center. Wells said that investigation is ongoing and asked for any other victims or witnesses to contact authorities. And this is just my plea to you. If you're watching this video and you were a victim of Tom Keese, you need to come forward and go to authorities to help see justice done in this case. I know this will not be easy. I know that's a hard thing to do, but you can help take this guy and put him away for a long time so he's not able to do this to other people, particularly children. Jesus seemed to take these things very serious in regards to minors. He said it would be better if you hurt one of these little ones or caused them to stumble. And it would be like putting a millstone around your neck and being cast into the ocean. That is the judgment, okay? So Jesus considered these things very serious, situations regarding minors. They're protected population. They should be protected. If we can't keep the children safe in our churches, then no one is safe. Okay, so this is just saying to those, if you've been abused at all by Tom, come forward and share your story. So Tom Keese's attorney, Samuel, told USA Today his client intends to plead not guilty to each charge, and he went into court and did just that. He is claiming he is innocent, and his attorney said all these charges are false. They're flights of fancy. They're unsupportable, Samuel said in a phone call in April 22nd. So Tom is pleading not guilty to these charges, and his bail is going to be set at $2 million. We are not sure whether he will be released pending trial, but a bail was set that was pretty substantial. This is one of the sicker cases that I've covered in church corruption, church scandal world, and this is beyond shocking that something like this could happen in our churches. This is pointing to the fact that our churches are sick. These are not isolated incidents happening anymore. This is becoming commonplace, particularly in charismatic cultures, although not limited to them. We know that we're going to have sinful and broken people in the church and that no church is perfect. But it's a whole nother thing when we find out that these people were in church leadership, that they were part of leading the church, that their son was leading a major ministry at the church. So we need to path a new way forward, a new path forward. That's why I'm blowing the trumpet. That's why I'm covering more of these nefarious stories. Is not because I like putting dirty laundry out there, but to just show people the state of the church. We need to take a deeper look at our churches, and we need to find a deeper spirituality that will really address the issues of people's lives. We need to have better programs to help disciple people and raise them up in the faith.